tribute to Conway Twitty. Now, before we continue our in-depth interview with Conway's wife, Dee, we want to clarify something for you.
Okay, now, in the interview that you're about to hear, she makes reference to the litigation and the case. Now, it's been well documented, especially here in the national newspapers, that 3 of Conway's children from a previous marriage went to court following Conway's death to ask that the co-executors of his estate be removed. The children made it very clear that they just disagreed with how the estate was being handled.
Right. In late December, a judge dismissed the case, saying that the co-executors were acting in the best interest of the estate and that they would remain in charge.
So now, as we begin part 2 of Dee's interview, you should know that her publicist, Susan Andrews, was there for moral support. And Susan jokingly told me during the break that Dee hadn't told the whole truth on one certain point. Of course, you know me, I couldn't let that go. So that's how we started part 2 of our interview. Susan was telling me that you lied.
Susan, my friend. Now, Susan,
how have you lied to me today, Dee?
Well, I guess I have forgotten. I really didn't mean to lie, but it's true. Part of what kept me going this last year is all the anger that I have felt. And anger is a normal process, you know, in the grieving process. I mean, I can write a book on grieving now. I have read so many, and I mean, one of the things is you have this anger. You have anger at God. You have anger everywhere. You have anger, you know, at family and at friends. You look around and you say, it's not fair. It's not fair. They don't love each other as much as we loved each other, you know. So there, and then, of course, the anger in the court battle, I think that got me through the holiday situation. You know, we had to go to court 2 days after Christmas, 3 days after Christmas, something like that. But it was ridiculous what we had to go through and experience at that point in time when, and I wasn't allowed to fully grieve. I had to worry about that, and it was only after the judge's decision to throw their case out of court and leave the executors in charge that I had time to sit down and really start the grieving. So I think I'm behind on that, and it's just going to take a long time.
Everyone knows how Conway cared for you. Why wasn't there a will to protect you?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that question. First off, I want to point out that Conway's death was a sudden death. We didn't expect this to happen, you know. I mean, he just had 2 physicals, 2 complete physicals. There was nothing wrong with this man. It came on very suddenly. Secondly, we did have a will and trust that we were working on. It had been in the works for over a year and a half. As you can imagine, with somebody like Conway, who has an estate the size he had, and children from a previous marriage, from not just 1 previous marriage, but 2 previous marriages. It was difficult. It was very, very lengthy. It had been from the lawyer's office to our in-house accountant. He had reviewed it. It was so complicated. Conway and I had reviewed it, that we sent it to our outside accountant. And she had it in her office and had it for 30 days, reviewing many of the tax ramifications. That's where it was. He did have a will. It was not signed. We were working on it. I'm sorry to tell you, to this day, I don't have a will. You would think that I would have learned my lesson, wouldn't you?
Will this all turn out okay?
I'm sure it will. You know, even though we had this will and trust agreement that was at the accountant's office, we were working on it. Conway also made provisions for me, knowing that I was covered under the other will, under the state law, that if anything should happen to him. Plus, I had other things like life insurance in the home and things like that. So it wasn't like he left me uncovered. And I have had people say things to me like, it makes me so angry that your husband didn't have things in place. Wait, they were in place. He wouldn't have done that.
So it's not like you can't pay for the house, you can't pay for groceries.
No, I'm well taken care of.
And thinking about your situation, for some reason, this may be stupid, but I thought about Priscilla Presley and how over the years she has really taken hold and she's guarded the image of Elvis, and she's guided that and made sure it's treated with respect. Is that something that you want to do and can do?
Something I want to do. I don't know that it's something I can do due to all the other parties involved. It has been very upsetting to me. All the newspaper, tabloid, I don't want to get off into all that today, but the last thing Conway wanted was to see any of his business, personal business, private business, on the front page of the paper. I think you know that from dealing with him all these years. You knew him well. So that has been a tremendous irritation for me. I don't know what I can do to protect that. I can't stop people from calling them up and reporting false stories, and those people don't care. They just want to sell a newspaper. Today it's Conway, tomorrow it's somebody else. So that's one reason he didn't do a lot of interviews. He wanted to protect that image. Other people haven't had the same amount of respect for him that he had for himself, and that has just been a terrible disappointment. And I'm sure he's very disappointed too.
Fans want to know, and they write to me about this all the time. They're very curious about what kinds of new projects, new music, home video that they can expect about Conway in the future. Are you working on some of those things now?
Yes. MCA has contracted me to work with Robert Orman to do a box set on Conway. It'll be 4 CDs, and I'll have a book in there, and it'll be a retrospective of his entire career. There'll be things in it that have never been released, things that fans wouldn't have any way of getting unless they do this. It's going to be 80 to 90 songs, and hopefully it'll be in the stores in October. So I'm really excited about that.
Is there a pretty big body of material that has never been released before?
Yeah, there are quite a few things that haven't been released, including a song that Conway cut for me in the last session that we did.
And what is that about?
Well, I'll just tell you the title, and it's called I'll Always Find My Way to You. It's not something he had written, but it's something that we had in our stash of songs for a long time, and he did it as a surprise for me in the last session for MCA.
Had Conway accomplished everything that he wanted to with his music?
I don't think so. If you asked him what was the best thing that's ever happened to you, he'd say, I hope it hasn't happened yet. And he always said, you never look back on what you've done. You always look ahead. It doesn't matter what you've done. It's what comes next.
I wonder if you're going to be surprised at yourself in a year or two about what you've learned, what you've come through.
I already am. I told you earlier I could not even have imagined a day without Conway, an hour, we missed each other. We're talking about people who didn't go to separate parts of the house when we were home. We sat on the couch and watched TV or worked, or if I was in the kitchen cooking, he was at the counter directing me. A cook he was not either. But, tasting, and the only time we spent apart in the house was when we were in our respective bathrooms getting ready. We exercised together. It wasn't where he was in one room watching one thing and I was in another room watching another. That didn't happen. So I have already surprised myself. I can't believe I have come to this point. I became so dependent on him. And so I've already surprised myself, but I think I've got a long way to go, too. I don't think I'm near where I need to be.
Do you realize in all these years, this is the first interview we've ever done together?
Yeah, I realize that. And that's on purpose. You've asked before, but I've never wanted to do this. I am not a publicity hound. I've always preferred to remain in the background, but I feel like there has been so much negative publicity in the last year. The will, the estate fight, all that. I feel like it's hurt Conway's memory. I feel like it's been detrimental. It's clouded it. And I kind of just wanted to, for him, I'm doing it for him. That's because I asked myself, why would I do this? I don't want my face on TV. I don't want people to know who I am. And I prayed about it, talked to friends about it, talked to family members about it, and realized I was doing this for Conway.
And she did an excellent job, too. Would you help me in thanking Dee Henry Jenkins for doing this interview for all of us? Questions. I know it wasn't an easy thing for her to do, but it means a lot to all of us who love her and who love Conway. I want you to know that that perhaps someday in the future she will be writing a book about Conway. Conway had asked her, requested that she do that because he felt she knew him better than anyone. She needs some time to pass, she says, before that happens. Also, I think it's interesting for you to know that Dee has left everything in the house the way Conway left it. His clothes, his closet, his bath, and even it's a little shocking because when you call up her house, Conway's voice is still on the codophone, but she still wants him there with her in that way.
Part of the therapy, I would imagine. And we also have some information for you about what's going on with part of Conway's estate. We talked to the people at Twitty City yesterday. They tell us the court did approve the sale of Twitty City to the Trinity Broadcasting Network. Now, TBN is a popular religious network, and they'll use the complex as a country gospel attraction with live performances by Christian performers there. Country fans will also be interested to know that Twitty City will remain open through September of this year, and plans are after that to hold an auction in early October. That will be open to the public, and up for bid will be some memorabilia and items of interest provided from Twitty City.
As you well know, Conway's fans were one of the most important parts of his life, and knowing that, the folks over there at Twitty City have put together a special tribute. It's called Final Touches, which is also the name of the album that he was doing for MCA. It's going to open this Sunday, the anniversary of his death, and it's going to be where fans can come and pay their final respects if they wish. This Sunday only, it will be free to the fans, and then after that, it will be included with the price of admission for the home tour and the showcase tour. If you'd like more information about what's going on at Twitty City, we have a number for you to call because I know a lot of the fans do have questions. 615-822-6650, and they will tell you how you can come and pay tribute and show your respect for Conway Twitty.
Again, our thanks to Dee. Glad you're with us, and our tribute to Conway Twitty will continue on Music City tonight.